Mis abuelos me enseñaron desde niña a cuidar el río. Siempre en mi corazón ha estado ese amor por el río y vivir cerca.
Nearly 1,000 miles long, the River Magdalena is Colombia's lifeblood. But endangered animals are dying.
Es muy triste ver la masacre de toda la fauna que aquí muere repetitivamente.
Now, a whistleblower shares evidence with BBC Eye that Colombia's biggest oil company has polluted the river and its wetlands.
For me, the breaking point was really looking at the people that live next to this, really living the impacts of this.
And we expose the price of speaking out.
En la noche llegan dos hombres a mi casa, armados, entran sin mediar palabra. Usted está muy linda. Sería una lástima que algo le pasara.
These are the wetlands of the River Magdalena. It's a richly biodiverse area. The region is also home to Ecopetrol's main base in Colombia, in the city of Barrancabermeja. Oil from across the nation is processed here in the country's largest oil refinery. Andres Alarte grew up here.
Getting the job at Ecopetrol was a dream come true. I was extremely proud. My family was super proud as well.
Ecopetrol is Colombia's biggest oil company. It's majority owned by the government and listed on the New York Stock Exchange. Andres joined in 2017 and worked as an advisor to the CEO. But he soon became concerned about the company's approach to the environment.
I remember doing some analysis of water discharges, and it was awful. Most of the water that is put there is really outside the norm of water quality regulation in Colombia. This has a lot of health implications for the communities and the people that use this water downstream.
Como comunidad de pescadores, somos esas guardianas de los ríos, de las ciénagas, porque de esto depende que podamos llevar alimento a nuestros hogares. Soy Julia Andrea Velázquez, soy una mujer pescadora y pertenezco a la Federación de Pescadores de Santander, FEDEPESAN. Soy la presidenta.
Julie and her colleagues have been raising the alarm about a disturbing trend.
Es muy triste ver la masacre de toda la fauna que aquí muere repetitivamente. Encontramos 3 manatíes, 5 búfalos muertos, encontramos más de 10 babillas, encontramos tortugas, chigüiros, aves, miles de peces muertos. Entonces es algo extraño lo que aquí sucede en este caño.
It's not clear what's causing the deaths. River warming due to climate change could be a factor. But the fishers are concerned by signs of oil pollution.
Aquí podemos observar el brillo que tiene este material vegetal y el aceite que aquí lleva, vean. Todo esto son puras grasas y residuos directamente de la industria de la refinería de Ecopetrol.
Ecopetrol told the BBC at the time Andre's research was done, it was legally transitioning to new water discharge standards and now has efficient wastewater systems. But as Andres continued at Ecopetrol in 2018, he gained access to confidential evidence that wastewater pollution was not the only problem.
There is a database that could only be accessed at the very senior level. I was able to access these databases because of the role I had.
Andres shared this data with the NGO Environmental Investigation Agency and then with the BBC. The BBC has verified that the data came from Ecopetrol's servers. In one database, the company records thousands of violations of Colombia's environmental laws and regulations.
Everything related to environment, air, methane emissions, water contamination, deforestation, etc.
Another database records 839 sites polluted with oil, some not fully cleaned up after a decade or more.
You could see a category in the Excel where it lists which one is hidden from an authority and which one is not, which shows the process of hiding stuff from the government.
About 20% of the sites are marked as being only known to Ecopetrol. The BBC was able to film at one of these sites 7 years later.
By Colombian law, you need to report environmental impact to the authority immediately. Like if I spill something, I have to report it right away. That's part of every regulation. I was handing all the info to my superior saying, these are the results. Isn't this like really wrong? Isn't this illegal? But then those questions would trigger not only this reaction of like, you're not getting this, you're not getting what the job is about. Why are you asking these questions?
Felipe Baijon was CEO of Ecopetrol from 2017 to 2023. It was during this time that Andres collected most of his data while working for the Vice President of Sustainability. Baijon denies there was a policy of hiding unresolved oil pollution.
Tengo bastante buena memoria, Owen, y no me acuerdo haber visto el documento. Entonces, por eso te digo con tranquilidad absoluta que no hay o no hubo en ese momento ninguna política o ninguna instrucción diciendo, oiga, estas cosas no se pueden contar. Si hubo algo de este estilo, claramente no obedece a una instrucción desde la parte alta de la compañía o desde la dirección de la compañía.
Ecopetrol found out Andres was collecting information. He left the company in 2019. Shortly after, he started receiving anonymous death threats. He doesn't know who was behind them.
Yo tuve que abandonar Colombia porque ya no podía caminar la calle con el miedo de ser asesinado o de que mi familia fuera asesinada. Y en Colombia hay crimen muy organizado, mucho de eso gracias a la historia que tenemos. Y si uno ve el histórico de personas que han sido asesinadas, muchos de ellos se estaban oponiendo a proyectos de Ecopetrol y de la industria petrolera.
An armed conflict between left-wing guerrilla groups, the government, and right-wing paramilitaries has been fought in Colombia for more than 6 decades. Matt Smith is an oil analyst and financial journalist who has been based in Colombia for 14 years. He has reported how the oil industry in Barrancabermeja became a flashpoint in the conflict.
Colombia's oil industry has for decades been entangled in the armed conflict.
Despite an ongoing peace process, illegal armed groups remain active in the country. Many former paramilitaries find employment with private security companies.
The overlap between private security companies and paramilitaries or former paramilitaries is immense. And then the problem you have is those private security companies seek out the most lucrative contracts. The most lucrative contracts tend to be the oil industry, and it tends to be Ecopetrol issuing most of those contracts.
Andres has shared internal Ecopetrol emails showing that in 2018 it paid a total of $65 million to more than 2,800 private security companies.
I would honestly put my hand on my heart and say that senior management within Ecopetrol would not have been involved in ordering those paramilitaries to their facilities or near their facilities in 2021. onwards. But there is always that risk of some sort of contagion between the private security companies, the types of people they employ, and their desire to continually maintain their contract. It could include potentially even kidnapping or murdering community leaders or environmental defenders operating in those areas, simply to get rid of the problem and ensure that Ecopetrol's operations proceed smoothly.
Today, Colombia is the most dangerous country in the world for environmental activists. Based on data from NGO Global Witness, a record 79 were killed in 2023. Julie, leader of the fishing union, has also received death threats after speaking out against Ecopetrol.
Ese es el temor que me da, que me asesinen, para que esta mujer pescadora no siga denunciando todo lo que se ha visto en los diferentes humedales y caños de Barranca Bermeja.
In total, the BBC has spoken to 9 people who have criticised Ecopetrol and later received death threats from illegal armed groups or anonymously. Jubelis Morales is one of them.
El principio de mi activismo yo no sé si existe porque yo no sé si yo soy activista. A mí me gusta más pensar que soy una defensora, ¿no? Una defensora y una cuidadora del río.
Jubelis grew up in a fishing town downriver from Barranca Bermeja. Aged 18, she led protests against Ecopetrol's plans to start fracking in her area.
El fracking en Colombia no se va a dar, y no se va a dar porque no es una lucha contra el fracking, es una lucha por la vida de todos y todas.
Her protests soon attracted unwanted attention.
En la noche llegan 2 hombres a mi casa, armados, entran sin mediar palabra, me tocan el cabello de una manera sediciosa, asquerosa, y me dicen: usted está muy linda, sería una lástima que algo le pasara. Deje de joder con eso del fracking que la vamos a matar. Yo me quedé así. Ellos demostraban que podían hacerme cualquier cosa y yo no iba a hacer nada, no podía hacer nada. Eran 2 tipos.
Primero te diría, yo sí creo que teníamos la debida diligencia, los controles con todas las compañías de seguridad. Y cuando sucedía algo, bueno, que estuviera por fuera del estándar, de la regulación, nosotros éramos, o las expectativas inclusive, del código de ética y de cumplimiento de la compañía, nosotros éramos los primeros en reportar esto a las autoridades.
We, as a documentary team, have spoken with 9 people who've told us of credible threats which they link to them publicly criticising Ecopetrol.
Rechazo categóricamente esas amenazas y quiero dejar total claridad en este espacio que me dan que nunca y en ningún momento hubo ninguna directriz en ese sentido. De hecho, yo he sido muy vocal en términos de acabar con la polarización que tiene el país, de acabar con esas enemistades que no nos llevan a nada, Owen.
From exile in Germany, Andres has built a new career working on climate policies.
I never realized how this would completely change my life, like in every sense, professionally, emotionally. But I did this in the defense of my home, of my land, of my region, of my people. We are facing right now a huge problem that is climate change. And maybe it's the time to rethink how to do energy, how to do oil in the country.